It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
And welcome to Orlando. It's Opportunity Wednesday. The Tigers will be taking on UCF tonight. That game, by the way, is a 6 o'clock Memphis tip. UCF is a team that's pretty good. They have a net of 36. That means this is a quad one opportunity. They also have a Ken Palm of 36. So, J-Mo, I'm confused. You're the young analytics guy. They have a net of 36 and a Ken Palm of 36. You get that part?
I got it. I'm with you.
Okay. Now, Memphis has a Ken Palm of 37. That would be a 36 versus a 37. But their net is 58. How can that be?
Well, with Ken Pomeroy, the rankings are literally just laid out as your net points. So it's just your offensive efficiency per 100 possessions minus your defensive efficiency per 100 possessions. The Tigers have scored a pretty good number in that regard, and I think the net weight, I have no idea how the net weighs it. I'm assuming it's some sort of advanced metric of some kind, I guess, weight of quad 1 versus quad 2, quad 3, quad 4, and Ken Pomeroy really doesn't take that into account. So that would be my long answer as to why those ratings can fluctuate so much.
I am so glad I asked, because you have cleared that up. And based on what you just said, as much as I like Ken Palm and the fact that Memphis is 37 there, it would seem to me the net, which takes into strength of schedule and some other factors that you just mentioned, make it a more, I think, accurate measurement. I would have to say that Memphis at this point probably deserves to be exactly where they are. They are in Lenardi's bracketology. They are an 11 seed as the last four in. In Mike DeCourcy's deal, they're an 8 seed. I did not look to see where they are with Jerry Palm. But if you're anywhere from 11 to 8, that's probably about right. I think Memphis would like to get it down to about a 6. That would be an area where you could probably get to the Sweet 16 weekend. In the meantime, this UCF team has got some pretty decent wins here. Lenardi's got them on the bubble, so they're just on the outside looking in. Memphis doesn't have that many quad one opportunities. They'll have 2 ahead of them with the Houston, which, by the way, their net is number 1. The Tigers are 1-1 in quad one wins, or quad one games so far, because they beat Auburn, but they lost at Alabama, and that obviously a 3-point game on their floor, top 5 team in the country. That ends up being a pretty good loss for sure. But this is where you can start to make amends for what happened in New Orleans against Tulane on New Year's. You win this quad one win, it makes up, I think, for the loss. So there is a big opportunity. Some of this stuff is so confusing, not as confusing as it was today for those of you who are trying to fly. I hope not many of you are trying to get out today. I know there's a beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, our friend Jason Munns. I don't know if he got out yet, but he was at the airport, I think at 5:30 today, only to sit around. If you have not heard, there was a computer outage from the main computers of the FAA. They canceled all flights. And at one point when I woke up this morning, it was saying, we don't know when we will restore service. They have restored service, but at least 5,000 airplanes have been delayed. Crazy, J-Mo, huh?
I saw a picture that Jason Munns posted, I guess about 30 or so minutes ago, of him sitting on a plane. So that's a good sign. Maybe he's getting out and headed to Orlando at this point.
Boy, I hope so. That's a lesson right there. Don't wait till the day of the game to go. even if the weather isn't supposed to be bad around the country, that stuff can absolutely scare the dickens out of you. We're busy today. We've got the inane thing coaches say coming your way in a bit. Brett Norsworthy, as he always does on Wednesday mornings, will join us. We'll talk about SEC in a lot of ways, the championship games, some football stuff, and, of course, SEC hoops. So, South Carolina. J-Mo, do you know what South Carolina's net was last night?
I don't know what their net was, but I believe their Ken Pomeroy was in the 200s, like 205 or something like that.
Their net, which I think, have both agreed upon, is probably the better assessor. Would you say?
Yeah, so for rankings, certainly, absolutely.
Yeah. Their net was 263.
So
They've lost to East Carolina this year. They've lost to, I don't know how many bad losses they have. They got a bunch, okay? They beat Kentucky at Rupp Arena. Not only was that a bad look for John Calipari, I think security at Rupp Arena's got a bad look too. Because you heard, I think we mentioned this yesterday, right? That John Calipari is flirting with the idea, because Texas is open, because they had to fire Chris Beard, that maybe he would go to Austin. So here's the thing about Cal that I know and love. He will use any event to his advantage. He will try to leverage, even in bad times, an exit to another place that may or may not want him. But he gets folks out there to spread the word. No, this is a terrible year. People are on me. I do have a number one recruiting class coming in, but I'm not being appreciated. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let it be known that maybe I'll go to Texas. Maybe Texas wants John Calipari. So there is a fan that took umbrage with that, and I know many of the Memphis fans have taken umbrage with his flirtations over the years when he was here. And he wrote on a little poster board, sitting in Rupp Arena, this is during the first half, I believe, so it's before they're losing bad in this game, he wrote, "Please go to Texas." What did the security people at Rupp Arena do? They didn't like it. They escorted him out of the building. Come on. What about free speech in America, J-Mo?
Yeah, those signage nowadays, though, that's a good way to get yourself killed. A lot of times they won't even let people in with signage. I heard Jason Munz is a totally different sport and everything. Jason Munz wasn't allowed in with a sign at a WWE event in Memphis last week, so I think they're a little more stingy with the signage. But honestly, Kentucky's losses this year, that's really the only bad one. And I know fans are upset with him at this point, but if you just avoid a loss like that, you can explain away the other losses. A neutral site loss to Michigan State that's better than everybody thought they were going to be. An away loss to Gonzaga. You lose on a neutral court to UCLA, a top 5 team in the country. Missouri's a lot better. That's a league game you lost on their floor. And Alabama's one of the top teams in the country. You lose on their floor. So this is really the first bad loss of the year for Kentucky. Not a good look amidst rumors that he might go to Texas.
But J-Mo, the Wildcats are 1-3 in the SEC. They're only 10-6. They went from number 1 in the preseason poll, or in some of them, to out of the poll in one of the quickest departures. And there's talent on this team. I really don't know what has happened here. I know he's got reinforcements coming because he got another great class, but it sure seems to me that Kentucky has quit on John Calipari.
Well, last night I think you can make that argument, although it was a close game, but South Carolina stinks. They just got beat by 50 on their home floor at Tennessee. So they're not a good team. I'm not explaining that loss away. But you mentioned a 1-3 start. Like I said, Missouri is a much improved team. Losing on their floor, that's a tough game. You beat LSU at home. That's a game you should win, so you take care of business there. And I really can't fault them for losing, even though they got blasted by Alabama on their floor, too. These last 2 games have been a tough stretch, but they go to Tennessee this week. It really doesn't get any easier on the road there. Very easily could start 1-4, and you know they're going to start really chirping in Lexington, Kentucky if he starts 1-4 in the league.
Well, and letting it out like maybe I'll go to Texas. That at this point in time, after all these years, I don't think that was a good look, and I don't think it was a good look for the folks at Rupp Arena to do what they did last night. Did you see what happened with Miami last night?
The University of or the Heat?
The Heat.
It's crazy.
The Heat made all 40 of their free throws, and it took a Jimmy Butler and one making that final free throw to beat Oak City 112-111. Can you believe, though, 40 free throw attempts? That's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding.
And every one of them that was stroked by a Miami Heat player went right through the net. That is unbelievable to me. Do you know how long there was a record that was made by Utah? They were playing Portland, and they hit 39 of 39. That was literally 41 years ago, 1982. I didn't think that record ever get broken, that you'd get 39 and make every one of them?
No.
40 of 40? That's crazy.
It was crazy, and Stan Van Gundy made mention of it multiple times. Oklahoma City, especially Lou Dort, who fouled out of the game, they're just fouling entirely too much. I mean, they could not defend without fouling last night. It was a huge problem. They were just giving them those free throws, and then obviously you get down the stretch, you're like, oh my gosh, they haven't missed one. They're in the 30s at this point. Crazy. A lot of people I saw on Twitter was a buzz last night, upset that a national TV game would have that many fouls. But Oklahoma City was fouling. I mean, what are the rest supposed to do? Stop calling fouls? They're fouling. You got to call it.
Well, there is a philosophy that many coaches have, plenty in the college game, where they go, look, let's foul every possession. They're not going to call every one of them. And I think that was what was happening in the Miami OKC game last night. One more little quick NBA note. Steph Curry returned. He got 24. This Golden State team is not very good. They lost again to a team that was missing players in Phoenix, had been struggling. And they pretty much dominated at Golden State, 125-113. Maybe we're premature here, because many times we've counted out the Warriors, and they got a great starting lineup with Steph healthy. But after that, I'm not sure. And I think it's over. I don't think this grouping of Warriors is going to win another NBA title. There's too much good talent now in the West.
Yeah, with the title, I would absolutely agree with you on that one. Now, I mean, if these guys develop, their bench is bad because they're young. So maybe if Steph and Clay and Draymond, and if they can keep Andrew Wiggins stick around and you develop some of these young players, who's to say that maybe in a year or two they don't get going? But as it's presently constituted right now this year, you're absolutely right. These guys can't play 40 minutes every game in the playoffs for as long as the playoffs last now. What is it, like 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks? No, they can't make a run to the championship, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I will tell you right now, honestly, just on paper, looking at the way teams play together too, I think Memphis, Denver, Dallas, all three of those teams play better than the Golden State Warriors. And there's maybe the Pelicans, for that matter, when they get Zion back and are healthy with all their pieces. I don't see how Golden State, and they're not going to have home court advantage either. So I don't see how the world they're going to march all the way to the NBA title series again. That's for sure. All right. We mentioned we've got stats coming your way in a little bit, and we have a surprise. TJ Reeves is going to make an appearance today to talk about a bunch of different things, including the Brady Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys in Tampa in the first round of the playoffs. He let me know today they did play a couple of other times in the playoffs. It was 40 years ago, but they did play. So we'll chat with TJ about that. In the meantime, we put this week to bed, the final regular season week, the final week all year of the inane things that coaches and players in the NFL may say.
And I guess it's just coach speak.
I'm just appreciative of the collective. I'm appreciative of the men, not what they're capable of, but what they're willing to do. In the face of adversity, man, that football presents, in the face of adversity that life presents, we have an opportunity to kind of display some things in all of that. And hopefully we learn something. Hopefully we taught others something in the midst of our journey.
And I've never seen a lot of what I've seen in the past 8 weeks, right? So baptism by fire, however you want to frame it.
If they come to you in March and say, look, we're going to keep you, we like you, we're going to develop you, but we're signing veteran X to be our starter, how would you feel?
Yeah, I'm going to make that dude's life hell in practice every day.
I think it's Zach Brown who's got that song, Family Table. And, being at home today was like we were coming together as a family. In that stadium.
Family and football, honestly. Faith, family, and football.
Football is our game. Our business is winning. And our intentions are to handle business.
A lot of the times in the NFL, you don't play pretty games.
AFC North football. Show me a pretty game that anybody's won in this division yet, and that'll be the first one I've seen.
The style point component of play is less significant. You step into stadiums, you win games, you step out of stadiums.
Winning pretty is not a priority. You obviously, I remember Larry Karras used to always say, like, hey, I want to make sure that my friends, if we've ever played in Cincinnati or played in another city, like, I want to make sure my friends in Cincinnati know we're headed in the right direction, or whatever it was. And so that's the same thing. You want to be headed in the right direction. You want, and all those different things. But playing Wilmington's a little different than playing. Who we just played, the Giants. Like, you're going to win some ugly.
Long story short, I'm a terrible podium guy because I don't really know how I feel.
I don't have any feelings about it. There are no feelings. There are just preparation and getting ready to go compete.
I mean, honestly, I just think we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. The way that they've really put their best foot forward. It's just those couple times we kind of shot ourselves in the foot. Put your best foot forward.
We just got to go put our best foot out there.
Get a couple high fives. I got a bruised finger from high fiving something. When you want to climb a mountain, you got to be willing to fall some. And you got to be able to keep climbing.
Money is energy, and I have made a ton of it.
It's wisdom not to judge others.
Am I talking loud? Because I've got this toboggan on.
I'm not a burn the tape guy, so we're not flushing this away and not being accountable for it. So let's just make that real clear.
I mean, you learn something from everything.
And frankly, I think it's time to burn the tape and move on to Tampa.
And that's really the roller coaster of emotions that a football season can bring.
At some point, the carousel comes to a stop, and it's time to get off.
I think somebody said last year, like, it's like you're underground, you're like watering these plants and these flowers and different stuff like that, and you're trying to get better from it, and so that's what we're doing.
I think we should end it on that.
A few things here. I loved it. Money is energy. That had to be Aaron Rodgers, right?
Absolutely, that was Aaron Rodgers. Money is energy.
McCarthy, the Cowboys coach, was the one that had to say burn the tape, right?
Well, first he said he's not a burn the tape guy, and then the very next day he said it's time to burn the tape.
So he went 180, which is probably part of his problem. He's never very decisive. Who was the guy that said, I'm not really good up on this platform?
Oh, that was Mike McDaniel. Said he doesn't know how he feels standing at the podium.
I kind of liked him. And then the guy before him was talking about Cincinnati, and I don't know who that voice was, but I can tell you it reminds me the way he speaks, the pattern, so much of Mike Norvell.
It is Nick Sirianni, just the roundabout way of talking, never can get to the point. He talks about some guy that used to coach Division III football that had this say. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni just goes everywhere.
Yeah, and to me, his speech pattern was just like the Florida State coach, former Tiger, Mike Norvell. All right, the most guys that you used this year, I think Mike Tomlin was the number one guy that you used.
I would agree. I think that's going to be every year. Mike Tomlin is my favorite. I could listen to that guy talk all day, every day. He's my favorite coach. He has his little catchphrases. He never blinks. He loves splash plays. He'll say splash in this inflection. Mike Tomlin's the best.
Who do you think you use second most? Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick is so hit or miss because, some weeks he'll never say anything. Right. Sirianni is a big one. I use Sirianni quite a bit, and John Harbaugh is another one. But you have to catch John Harbaugh. Oh, and Russell Wilson. But you got to catch John Harbaugh after a win because after a loss, he's a little more surly and doesn't say a whole lot. But if he wins, he'll go out on a little tangent or something. Russell Wilson's up there, too.
I loved it. It was great stuff this year. The inane things the coaches and players say in the National Football League. The Family Leisure Studios have moved. Obviously, they're in Orlando at the moment. And by the way, it is a beautiful day here. Sunshine. I don't know if it ever rains in Central Florida the way it seems to me. Gorgeous here. And so is that floor sale that's actually happening in Memphis. Studio may have moved, but where you need to go is still Highway I-40 and Wynn Road. Just a little bit north, a couple of blocks. Look to your right, to the east. There you will see what I think is a beautiful place. They have really done that store gorgeously now. So the Christmas sale is over. But we've got the floor model sale, and you're going to get some of the best prices of the year at the floor model sale. That can be on a various different amount of things. All you got to do is check it out. I promise you'll walk in there. You will love what you see. Where family and fun all comes together, that is at Family Leisure. And our title sponsors, Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. That is right now the place you need to go if you want this financial incentive. Get any new car off the lot. This is Highway 78 Lamar and the first exit in Mississippi Craft Road. Turn left. Go see this crew that's been together for 15 or 20 years. They know how to take care of you. And right now, Hyundai on the whole with Homer Skelton Hyundai is offering an incentive through the entire month of January. Buy a brand new Hyundai. Doesn't matter which one. It could be an Elantra, a Veloster. It could be the Santa Fe that I love. It could be the smaller one, the Tucson, the Palisade. Whichever car that you want that is a Hyundai. You drive it off the lot and don't worry about paying for 90 days. 3 months. 90-day deferment payment going on through January on all the brand new Hyundais. Only at Homer Skelton Hyundai. We pause for just a second. When we come back, we'll be joined by Brett Norsworthy. We'll talk the college football championship game and all things SEC with our buddy Stats. He's next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York. But many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You can just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
This message brought to you by Discover. Did you know you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection? It's the latest innovation from Discover. Discover will help regularly remove your personal information, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And they'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
My partners had told me I should get my knee replaced. I was in my 40s, and I decided that I wouldn't do that.
That's orthopedic surgeon Dr. John Herzog, who found regenerative medicine years ago and became a believer.
It changed my life around. It improved me to a point where I was able to jog again.
That's when Dr. Herzog switched his focus from surgery to helping his patients with natural biologics.
I've treated at least 5,000 patients. I believe your body has everything it needs to heal itself.
Today, you'll find Dr. Herzog at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in this exciting field of medicine that can give lasting pain relief with no downtime, no drugs, and no surgery.
I have patients coming up to me that I did 10 years ago saying, Doc, my elbow's still working great. I'm playing tennis 3 days a week.
Call QC Kinetics now to explore alternative ways to deal with your pain. It's a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 901-445-1010. That's 901-445-1010. 901-445-1010.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, Orco hard coolers, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps. Fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. We spare no expense on this show. Wolo and Friends travels the world for you. I'm in Orlando and in Oxford, Mississippi, covering Auburn and Ole Miss last night, the one and only Brett Norsworthy. So the Rebs gave it a good try, but now they're 0-4 on the year, 8-8, and have lost 5 in a row. How is Kermit Davis holding up?
It's rough, Gabe. After that North Alabama loss on December 20th, it's been tough sledding since then, and we all know what a loss like that eventually probably does to most people, and especially then you couple it with really not being able to break out with a league win. And last night had a lead at halftime, but Auburn really controlled things defensively in the second half and were able to make more shots. I don't think it's a wildly gifted Auburn team, maybe the least talented Bruce Pearl team at Auburn, but he coaches his tail off, and he poured his guts into that game and that comeback, and they were able to win really kind of easily down the stretch of the game. And it just doesn't get any easier for Ole Miss the rest of the way. You maybe the game Ole Miss can circle and get ready for is on January 31st when Kentucky comes to Oxford, because they are really reeling.
Oh my goodness! All right, so your take on not just the sign, please go to Texas, because of the flirtation, and we all know Cal's people put out there that the thing about Texas. That's just standard operating procedure. When he thinks you're upset with him, he reminds you that he could be wanted elsewhere. But the fan who wrote it, and this, of course, is happening in an iconic game of failure here for Kentucky. But when the fan writes on the thing, please go to Texas, that's kind of funny in its own way. I did not think it was funny that Rupp Security removed him, not just the sign, that person from the stadium. We do have free speech in America. What did you think of that move by Rupp, the Rupp Security?
Well, I feel like it was probably completely directed at Cal's behest, and that's typical John Calipari. Nobody can ever give it more than him and not be able to take it at all. And I don't know why in the world Texas would be interested in him. At minimum, he's on the back 9 of his career, maybe the last 4 or 5 holes of his career. Texas just built a new $400 million arena. They want somebody that's going to build and maintain a program. I know building one right now is kind of a year-to-year process. It's not like it used to be. But why in the world would you look to Mr. Yesterday when you're trying to build for tomorrow at Texas? I don't know if they have any interest in him whatsoever. It's 100% generated by him. And he feels as beleaguered and as brooding and as angry as he can be, because he only likes it one way. He only likes it when everybody's saying, "Oh, Cal, you're the greatest." And how interesting with the end of college football, and now people talking about is Kirby Smart in Georgia the new dynasty, and is he the better coach? How silly were the comparisons years ago when people would want to compare John Calipari to Nick Saban?
Well, that's tough. I will say this. We say yesterday's guy, he was the preseason number 1, and he's got next year's number 1 recruiting class coming in. So there is some today, and if you're Texas, if he did the same thing to Kentucky that he did to Memphis, he would take that team with him to Texas, or those recruits. That might be a part of the attraction. I don't know. I don't think Cal really wants to go. I think he does that to try to make himself more attractive, and I believe he's going to go one more year with Kentucky. But this is getting out of control. To lose to a 263 net, oh my gosh, that is awful. I'll get back to SEC hoops in a minute. Let's go to that college football championship game. Saban absolutely had a dynasty. We know the domination that he had. For a little while, we were talking about Dabo, and he had it going at Clemson, and that sort of went away really quickly. Do you think Georgia can three-peat? That would be the first time since the 1930s. Can he do that? Is he going to take over the mantle of the best college football coach in America?
Well, they can, and I think he is for right now, but we also know the crown is very heavy. They're going to have a very conducive schedule to do it next year. Their first real challenge will be the last game of the year when they go to Knoxville, week before Thanksgiving next year. I just don't see any way they don't start easy 7-0, if not easy 10-0. 1 or 2 challenges in there. Auburn would be one, and maybe 1 or 2 others, but not many. And it looks like we're on a collision course for Nick Saban and Alabama in the West next year, and that will be probably the last year of East-West if Texas and OU are merged in 24. We know they will be in 25, and we also know next year, if they are merged in for 24, that will be the last year of the first weekend of December being the SEC championship game, because that's going to move up to more of a Thanksgiving weekend thing when we go to the expanded playoffs in 24. We know that's happening in 24. So next year will be it for first weekend in December, and I think you can probably book right now Bama and Georgia, and that will be the clash of the Titans, especially with everything being said and going on. And on the field, Georgia, they have the supremacy right now. But the last 2 times those 2 teams have played, it's 1-1. It's 1 for Bama, 1 for Georgia.
Right. Were you shocked at the one-sidedness of that game? I felt that Georgia would win the game. I thought TCU would keep it within the 13 points. I didn't know for sure if the cover of the over-under would be made. And heck, Georgia covered that on their own. How shocked were you by the one-sidedness of it?
Not at all. I had 45-17 Georgia, so I had them by 28. They win by 58. I missed by 30, and I thought it would be a blowout. And I think if they played 10 straight times at Amon G. Carter, 28 may be the closest they could play. No, it was a classic mismatch on paper. The really surprising thing was TCU able to pull the upset over Michigan. If you don't think Michigan's got a long offseason, they got to sit there and think about, we lost to a team that lost by 58.
Well, they fumbled twice inside, the 2-yard line, so that certainly went away. But what I was most blown away by was the speed that Georgia possessed that TCU could not keep up with, nor the total physicality of the lines. Stetson Bennett was never touched. Duggan never had a second to throw the ball.
I wasn't surprised by it because I see, although I didn't see Georgia in person this year, but I see that every week. I see the size, speed, disparity every week. And this was in a year when the SEC was not vintage. This was just a good year for the SEC. Really good at top. The broad middle was kind of mushy, and then the bottom, it wasn't very good. But I thought it would be that kind of blowout, whether it was Michigan or TCU in the final. The surprise was how well Ohio State played against Georgia. And they almost had them, but they couldn't get it done. And week in and week out, the SEC proves year in and year out that it's the best with the criticism, and the fairest criticism of the SEC is it's not perfect. And it's not. It has its shortcomings, but it's still, if not head and shoulders, it's still definitely ahead of everyone else.
I don't think there's any question about that. And I suspect when we get to the 12 teams, the SEC is going to get 4 or 5 in every year. I think the Big Ten will get 3 every year. And then there's going to be one spot.
Less than 5.
What now?
I'll be disappointed if it's less than 5 every year.
Well, it may be. They may be. I know there's going to be one spot for the group of 5, so that would be, say, 6 right there. And then the Big Ten's going to get a couple. You know that. It's going to be interesting to see. I think in the end it's going to be really good for football, but that's still a couple of years away. In a roundabout way, Brett, the Tigers and the Ole Miss Rebels made a trade. I know the Rebels are getting a good one in Caden Prieskorn. I like the kid. Can't blame him for making the move if the money through NIL that he got is true. I'm happy for him. The Tigers end up getting a kid that was at Houston High School, an offensive lineman named Jack Greer. How did the Tigers end up doing in this trade?
Well, I think they got a solid player, but Caden Prieskorn can really be an all-league type caliber player next year for Ole Miss. And with the number of catches, the lack of number of catches at tight end over the first 3 years for Lane Kiffin. In the first year of Lane Kiffin, Kenny Yeboah had 27, and since then it's just been really sparse with tight end play. And what he can do, that inline blocker that he is, and how he can block out in space and tunnel and screens and things like that, has really been a deficit for Ole Miss this year, and he will help a lot. And we know the quarterback's best friend is the tight end, and Jackson Dart will be well suited to find him. Now, Ole Miss has not had the game breaker at wide receiver since Elijah Moore. Don't know if they're going to have that next year. It'll be more by committee, but he is a big addition, and Ole Miss definitely needed to upgrade tight end.
Oh, I think in that scheme he is going to be terrific for the Rebels. I really do. Tell me what you know about a former Arkansas captain. This was surprising to me yesterday. Memphis needs so much help in the defensive backfield, and they got safety Simeon Blair. What can you tell me about him?
He will help, and he will help first snap. That's a big get for them. It's a big loss, and Arkansas has had the notable losses. Reportedly, Sam Pittman is really agitated and aggravated, I'm sure, like a lot of coaches, but you can't show it at the portal and developing players, and then you lose them. You have a player. Now, Arkansas had a wide receiver on the Wednesday before the Thanksgiving Friday game, the day after Thanksgiving against Mizzou, that he bailed that week, 2 days to go. You can't stay 2 more days, and that's really aggravating Sam Pittman. He's showing it. I don't think you can. I know most of them are probably really frustrated by it, but you can't fight it, because what part of player liberation and freedom did you not get?
No, that's exactly correct. All right, my friend, we lost somebody both of us thought the world of this week. I believe you're heading down to pay your respects for the service for our friend George Bryan, who passed away at the age of 78. I don't know very many people that have accomplished and been as nice as George Bryan, one of the true greats that we had the honor of being associated with, Brett?
He was a mountain of a man, and a mountain of civility and grace and good manners, fun. Dave, I have said to many people since the news of his passing after the long battle from the stroke he had in August of 2021, and then the rehabilitation got better and it really rallied last year, and then pneumonia around the holidays is what finally failed him. I've said I think he is the greatest Mississippian ever in business, society, sports, economic development, and back to just good old-fashioned grace and civility. The image that he cast to the world for Mississippi, it was needed, and he did in bringing the U.S. Women's Open to his beloved Old Waverly in 1999. It's the biggest sporting event the state of Mississippi has ever held, and he did it just a force of will and pulled it off. And the picture and the image it sent to the world what Mississippi is really all about, he did it, and he will be greatly missed. Sports will miss him. Dave, we would not have the golf tournament we have in Memphis without George Bryan. He and many others fought hard after the collapse of Sir Allen Stanford. And if it hadn't been for people like George Bryan, we would not have a golf tournament in Memphis today. And he led the fight for it, was chair of it forever, handed it off to our friend Jack Sammons, and now it's in the best shape it's ever been in. But George's reach was far in the sports world, and we know he loved the Cardinals like I did. And next year it will really be sad on a Cardinal win streak or a good run for me not to send that text that George, Cardinals are hot.
He did. He loved the Cardinals, and he loved his Bulldogs. And I will say this. The guy was the coolest, never showed you like nerves kind of a guy in everything. Business, on a golf course the same way when he was playing. He loved to play golf too. That's why he built Old Waverly and Mossy Oak. But when it came to the Bulldogs and the St. Louis Cardinals, the dude couldn't stand it. He was so nervous. Sometimes, like at a Bulldogs game, he would walk out of his booth in the press box because he couldn't stand watching it. He was so nervous. It was crazy. Cardinals the same way.
I had a friend of mine that was with him at a game, so they go to a game, they get to his box, and Mississippi State lost the coin toss. And he got aggravated and left and went back to Old Waverly.
That's it. And he was cool and everything else. It's amazing. Anyway, please give my love to the family. I'm so happy you're able to go. And we'll talk again next week.
You got it, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. That is our friend Brett Norsworthy in Oxford. Today's brought to you by Dinstall's. Becky Dinstall's has had a great year. You folks, isn't it great to be able to come back and go see people? And you know you're going to bring the taste of Memphis. You're going to bring the most iconic thing we got when it comes to sweets. That's Dinstall's, whether it's Cashew Crunch, probably their most unique signature thing. Well, it could be the chocolate-covered strawberries, but you can't get those right now. You'll have to wait until spring. But when you get turtlettes or when you get their fudge, World Award winning, and you give it to somebody else, you'll see the biggest smile on their face. They're always appreciative to get Dinstall's. And we've got 5 locations to get Dinstall's now. You know that. Collierville and Germantown, we got the suburbs taken care of. Heart of Memphis, Laurelwood, well, that's my neck of the woods. We've got one there. Now that little quaint one downtown, which is a cool little place if you haven't been there. And, of course, where they make it on Pleasant View. And I'm going to let you know I think, are going to have our remote around Valentine's Day at the original in the Pleasant View area. So mark it down. We're going to have Valentine's Day with Dinstall's. It's going to be fun. And if you want to have a little party this weekend and you want your hosts to really appreciate you, bring them some Dinstall's. We're back in a minute. We will bring you TJ Reeves. He's in Tampa. He's standing by, and he's next on Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, folks. The Chevy Sheriff with good news for car and truck buyers. The Chevy Ranch has new cars and trucks in stock, ready for immediate delivery. Factory rebates up to $1,000 and Sunrise discounts high as $4,000. Immediate financing available with the interest low as 2.9%. A $15 million used car inventory with cars and trucks for every budget, and a lot specializing in cars and trucks under $15,000. If you've been turned down by another dealer, see us at Sunrise. We specialize in financing, and Sunrise is the home of the guaranteed credit approval. Find new roads for the Sunrise Chevy Ranch. Collierville.
If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. That's true when your business is growing fast, and even more true when there's a lot of uncertainty. Inflation is running rampant, supply chains are clogged, and the labor market is tight. What does that mean for margins? But not every business is in the dark. Over 30,000 businesses know their numbers because they use NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, planning, budgeting, and of course inventory, so you can manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need, all in one place. In 2023, profit is the new growth. NetSuite helps you identify rising costs, automate your manual business process, and see where to save money. Know your numbers, know your business, and get to know how NetSuite can be the source of truth for your entire company. Right now, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind flexible financing program. Head to netsuite.com/play right now. netsuite.com/play. netsuite.com/play.
Hey, Zeke, where's Gabe? There's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to say it. Over the holidays, Gabe ate himself into a Central Barbecue food coma. He what now? Between all the Central Barbecue takeout and all the Central Barbecue gift cards that he got, he ate himself into a Central Barbecue food coma. Exactly. He's completely unresponsive except when there's a game on. Isn't that pretty much always the case with Gabe? Now it's even worse. Thanks to Central Barbecue and Gabe's addiction to it, he couldn't even be roused to watch the Camellia Bowl. Well, what can we do? Is there a cure? We have no way of knowing. All we can do now is wait and pray.
Add a little excitement to your sports watching experience by betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a reason why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Their app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique, fun bet types like same-game parlay, and exclusive, always-on promotions such as enhanced odds boosts on the biggest events to let you get more action out of every game day. And if you win, they even get you your winnings safely in as little as 24 hours. If you've never tried FanDuel Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started and be sure to sign up with promo code CASH so they know I sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CASH. Must be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only, $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. So I'm in Orlando. You all know that. The Tigers in Central Florida tonight. UCF, pretty darn good 36 net, a quad one opportunity. We're all excited about that. But, you know, as soon as I get into this Central Florida sunshine, I start to think, I'm about an hour away from my man, TJ Reeves. I haven't had some TJ in a long time, so he's able to steal away from his little program and give us a couple of minutes. How are you, TJ?
I'm good. I just got off the Bet US program, and I will tell you that the two handicappers there both were very interested in Memphis plus the points tonight against UCF for whatever it's worth. They didn't officially play it, but we were talking about the Tigers there just a little while ago.
Yeah.
I just want to know from my man Wolo, you're in Central Florida, about 75 miles from where I'm sitting. Do you have a tee time this afternoon, or is it cutting it too close to make game broadcast time tonight?
No, that's
What's the
7
deal?
o'clock.
January, it's
No.
gorgeous in Florida. What's the deal?
Well, here's the deal. Had I been in Tampa and had you offered free golf to me, I would have been there. There's no doubt about that. I don't have those connections.
I know J-Mo can come on the
Orlando.
mic if he's paying attention here. J-Mo, you notice how he phrased that. If I had been in Tampa and if you were offering free golf. That's a big if, J-Mo.
It's an important disclaimer. It's a very important disclaimer.
It is an important disclaimer. Good
It's
point.
not a big if. You provided for years that wonderful luxury.
Yes.
Come on.
I hook you up. I just remember the one year I keep telling this to you whenever this comes up. That one year you brought a busload of people because the Tigers were here to play USF in football, and there are like 10 people that got off the bus with you. And I had to hook them up as well. So I'm here for it.
Well,
That's
they
all I'm saying.
were school administrators at that time.
That's
you were
right.
with
They had
USF. They got their
we had
own golf
assistant
course.
athletic directors. We had broadcasters. We had all kinds of people get off that bus.
We played the Claw, which still is, right? That's USF's golf course.
Correct. USF's home golf course right by there. We played the Claw. We played TPC Tampa Bay out here where I am, which is kind of a mirror course like Southwind, difficult course. A couple other ones that you and I played. We got to swing them again at some point. I know you're going to be here in February. We got to maybe figure that out.
All right, tell me about what's going on. First off, I know you watch like everybody else, and I'm curious what the Buccaneers were feeling like when you were dealing with them after the Damar Hamlin heart attack and the scary moments that we had on Monday Night Football. What was that like for you and for all the NFL players that you were in contact with?
I mean, it's a real reality check. That's the phrase that I keep using, that you're playing a very dangerous game, a physically violent game. You know this. I have been on the sideline now 18 seasons watching these human train wrecks. They look like car accidents that people get up from, which are the collisions and the tackles and the plays that are made. And here you have something that it's an extreme freak situation, that he got hit the right way, and from everything that we apparently know, it knocked his heart out of rhythm and caused cardiac arrest. And those guys, it's been well documented. Everybody's said this 1,000 times every which way. They are heroes for being able to save him. But what it does for all the other teams is it's the reminder of the brutal sports you play and how on every play you could be facing serious injury, not necessarily death, but serious injury. So the Buccaneers did talk about that, and I think as the NFL played this weekend, it got back to some normalcy. Yes, there are big hits. Yes, there are injuries, but that was just a scary, scary reminder of how violent this game actually is. It's not the same way in basketball, obviously, or baseball, or things that we love like golf. You don't have the same physical toll that football or hockey would have, or a sport like boxing has that I'm big into. There's a much bigger inherent physical risk on those. So, and what a special thing. My buddy, my counterpart, Sal Capaccio, who is the Buffalo Bills sideline guy, he's a host on WGR Radio in Buffalo. He better be writing this stuff down for a book, because he's been behind the scenes. To have that opening kickoff, Wolo run back for a touchdown, that's Hollywood stuff with Jim Nantz on the call. What a moment. What a moment last Sunday in Buffalo, and now they play the Dolphins this weekend in the playoff game at home. We'll see what happens.
I agree with you. I mean, that was like storybook stuff. That was amazing. And apparently Damar Hamlin watched it in the hospital bed. I mean, just kind of that's Hollywood movie material right there. You guys had your Hollywood material moment when you beat Carolina and you got into the playoffs. It was not so good last week. Which Tampa team do you think is going to show up when they take on the Dallas Cowboys at home? Because you won your division, you get home field advantage on the Cowboys. What do you think we're going to see?
I'm proud of you that you didn't ask me to hook you up yet for tickets for Monday night, because I think everybody else is asking me for that. And I'm just putting it out there on Sports 56. I don't have extra tickets. I'm not Ticketmaster for Monday. The Bucs didn't play a lot of starters, Wolo, from the second half on. Atlanta was young. They're still trying to win the game. The Buccaneers didn't care. I wouldn't read too much into that. Look, they've been erratic this year. They've had trouble scoring. But I will say this to you, what I said to you off the air, what I continue to say to everybody: who's going against Tom Brady in a home playoff game? This will be the 20th time that he has played a playoff game here, the first playoff game, either in the wild card round or after a bye on the divisional round. He's 16-3 in the opening playoff game. Hello, 16-3. And again, having demonstrated against the Rams, against the Saints on Monday night, and even on Christmas night at Arizona, even if while trailing in the fourth quarter, and I know those are not very good teams, I get that. But even while trailing in the fourth quarter, you can't count this guy out, especially at home. And by the way, Dallas has almost looked zombie-like That game last week at Washington, what was that? If I'm the Cowboys, talk about they had everything to play for, Wolo, and they were terrible in the first half of that game. I'd be more concerned about how the Cowboys looked coming into Monday night.
Out of those 19 games you mentioned where he's 16-3, those are first playoff games?
Correct. The first
in a particular year.
Game
how many of those?
In the wild card round or in the divisional round off a bye, he has won 16 times in that situation, what the situation is Monday night.
So out of those 19 times where he's 16-3, how many of those were home games?
I think almost all of them were.
That's what I was
one
thinking.
exception would be the Buccaneer game in Washington 2 years ago. The Super Bowl season was obviously on the road. Last year, the Bucs won 13 games and played on the wild card weekend and beat the Philadelphia Eagles to add to his total. So 2 of them have been in Tampa Bay, 14 of them in New England. And again, at home where Dallas always seems to play tight in late December and January games and in the postseason. Dak Prescott throwing interceptions. I'm not saying you, I'm saying collectively to the Memphis audience, you want to go against Tom Brady? Good luck. Good luck on that for Monday night.
Well, how about this? Good luck to you, because another win means another payday. I'm thinking of the Twins is what I'm thinking
We're big on those. You and I have not talked. So the Twins, my wife, and the in-laws went on a 7-day cruise while Dad worked over New Year's weekend and the following week. And we still have orthodontics, and we still have college funds. So I'm right with you. Playoff checks, baby. We are all about
let's go.
Playoff
I'll
checks.
tell you what.
Let's get another one.
We're going to talk on Monday, same time slot. Thank you, my friend, and we'll do that soon.
Yes, we look forward to the Bucs and the Cowboys. Have a great time tonight in Orlando. Let's get a Tiger win in Orlando against UCF. Be well, my friend.
You got it. That's TJ Reeves, about an hour away from here in Tampa. He's brought to you by the good folks at Old Dominic. You might want to celebrate tonight. Let's hope we're celebrating, because this is going to be a tough game full of defense tonight with the Knights. But if you're looking for something to celebrate or just enhance your conversation with somebody, you just want to sit and have a little sip of whiskey, I've got the thing for you. It's Old Dominic. It's made right here in Memphis. Alex Castle, who is an incredible master distiller, she would not release 2 of these new whiskeys that they have until they were perfect. It took years. They're released. One's a sipping whiskey. The other is bottle and bond. I'm telling you, I've had them both. You are going to love it. Watch out for the bottle and bond, because that is 100 proof. This is really good stuff, and it's made right here in Memphis. By the way, right on Main Street, you can take a tour and get curated tastings after the tour, after you've learned about the product. It's a really cool experience. That is Old Dominic. Go check it out. Go check out the bar after hours. You can thank me later. That'll do it for us. I hope, as long as these airplanes all get settled with the FAA and the delays, hope I see you in studio tomorrow. Johnny Radio's next. Have a good day, everybody. I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's